Maritime Made on Eastlink TV is presented in partnership with Nova Scotia Business Inc., novascotiabusiness.com.
Artist Tacha Reed is making beautiful feltscapes and functional art right here in Ellershouse, Nova Scotia. Using a variety of unique wools, her art is like no other. When making a felted hat, the artist chooses a color combination using different types of wool. The artist uses a template for the hat to ensure a consistent shape while she works. This hat design begins with making polka dots by winding the wool around her fingers, making different sizes of polka dots. She lays them onto the hat template. Purple polka dots are formed next. To create more movement in the design, the artist lays down wisps of different greens, then purple, on the template. Now for a touch of sparkle, Angelina fiber is carefully laid out and patted into place.
Green Corriedale wool is pulled apart and placed along the rim, laying the wool fibers first in one direction, then in the other. When the fiber felts together, the different directions will make the finished piece stronger. The blue-faced Leicester wool is pulled and laid in different directions, followed by patting it down and checking for any thin spots. Different types of wool felts in unique ways. Using different wool helps the fibers felt together and creates textures and movement in the finished piece. The long, soft merino wool is laid out for the middle layer of the hat and then patted down. A little more wool is used along the edges. Turquoise wool forms the upper edge, and dark wool is used for the middle. This layer will become the visible design for the inside of this reversible hat. And the layer with colored swirls and polka dots will be the other side of the design. The edges are tucked in to form a smooth line on what will be the brim of the hat. A felting screen is placed on top. The artist creates the other side of the hat in the same way. As the hat design is circular, this could either be the front or the back.
The design is built up, while the artist is taking care to ensure this side is just a bit smaller than the first side. It will felt together tightly, and she wants to encourage the wool to wrap around the other side. Once the design is laid out, it's patted down. Green wool with highlights of turquoise is added for the outside layer, and then black for the last layer. The edges are smoothed together, and the rim is folded in. The artist now works with one side of the hat at a time. Soap and boiling water are mixed together and poured over the hat. A rolling pin spreads the water evenly throughout the fibers. The soap acts as a lubricant, so the fibers move easily and encourage felting. The hot water opens up the follicles in the wool and encourages both shrinking and felting. The screen is removed. The edges are wrapped around the template. Flipping it over, the fibers are smoothed out. The other side of the hat is carefully placed onto the template and covered in the felting screen. The water and soap mixture is poured over the wool and is worked with the rolling pin in the same way as the first side. The edges are carefully wrapped around the template.
The hat is flipped over. A felting screen is laid on top. A little more water is added, and the whole thing is rolled tightly in a mat and tied in place. The rolling process applies pressure evenly to every area, encouraging the felting process. Then, the hat is unrolled, and the artist works it further with the rolling pin until it is sufficiently felted. The hat is removed from the template and rolled with the rolling pin again. Hot water is then poured inside the hat, and the artist begins the rubbing part of the wet felting process. This motion furthers the felting and helps ensure evenness. At this point, the hat is shrinking and felting wool fibers together. After 30 minutes, the hat is rinsed in hot, then in cold water with vinegar to help remove the soap. Gently, the hat is rolled into a towel to remove the excess water. then placed on a mold and smoothed into the final shape, checking both sides of the reversible design. Artist Tacha Reed also works her felt magic, creating larger pieces for wall hanging. These beautiful feltscapes are made using various wools and different felting needles. Felting needles have barbed ends that weave the wool fibers together as the needle moves through the wool. This feltscape began with laying out roving, then building out the background first and moving to working on the foreground. The layers are hand needled into place, creating a textural art piece. The artist is working on the flower petals. Taking a small amount of golden fibers between her fingers, she rolls it, then needles it into place. It will take many, many hours to complete the petals on this piece.
Tacha loves to create images of the natural world around her. This feltscape of the Bay of Fundy is almost complete. Using the same needle felting and design techniques, she is adding the finishing touches to the sky. A base of blue fibers with wisps of white for clouds. Once finished, she uses a multi-needle felting tool. This one has 6 needles and compacts the fibers together, allowing her to further blend the work. A water and soap mixture is poured over the feltscape, then rolled with the rolling pin. The artist is working to make sure all the fibers are tightened together. After wringing, the work is squeezed dry in a rolled towel, then ironed on both sides, pressing the fibers into place. Another item Tacha creates is hand-felted brooches.
On a brush mat, she begins to create the shape of a squirrel brooch. Using different needles, she creates the desired shape. She works the wool until the legs, head, and ears are shaped and begins felting the tail, which is then laid over the body and felted together. White fiber is then added, defining the chin and the belly. Then black is used to create definition and shadow on the paws, legs, tail, and face. Then it's pink for the nose, and finally finishing the ears. The finishing touch? A clasp is hand sewn on the back of the brooch.